What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some Dallas Cowboy wide receiver versus DB one-on-ones from training camp this year. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and would like a daily training schedule that you can follow, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. What you'll get access to is 500 plus wide receiver drills, gym exercises, all mapped out on a daily workout schedule, and we give you the exact sets and reps to follow with examples of each drill and exercise. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So this first route here is going to be from CeeDee Lamb. This is a goal line fade where he actually wins on this route, and he wins on this like jump ball catch, right? So let's break this thing down. Let's talk about what he did here. So he uses a release called like a slide and go release. So this is a release that's built off of obviously the slide release where you slide to the outside, maybe give a quick crossover, DB jumps to the outside, and we slip underneath and can run a slant, a 5-yard in, something quick that's underneath. So now Lamb, what he's doing here is he's pairing his routes together, pairing his releases together. That's something that all great route runners are able to do. You look at guys like Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, what do they all have with their routes? Like especially Devontae Adams, he has that little skip, right? So when he skips at a guy, that DB has a decision to make, right? He could either play the fade, and Devontae Adams will use a crossover, run a slant. He could either sit to the inside, he'll skip, and then he'll just take off and run on the fade. So this is pretty much the same idea, just building off of a slide. So this first step that he takes, see how he takes this jab step to the inside? I love using this on a slide release because that jab allows you to kind of push out with some explosion and attack vertically. Now, why would you want to attack vertically on this release? Because that forces this DB to have to make a decision. So he jabs to the inside and he slides to the outside. Now, DBs are taught that anytime that you see a wide receiver slide to the outside, stay patient to your leverage. Don't give up the leverage because when you see this slide, expect that this receiver is running a slant. Now, especially as a wide receiver, if we've used a slide release, whether that's on film, whether that's in a game against this same DB, this is how you can use it to your advantage on an outside breaking route. So he slides off the ball. It's got to be the same tempo. That's what I mean by pairing your releases together. It's got to look the exact same at a certain point. So he gives this jab to the inside. He slides. He's patient. Same tempo. He's attacking vertically because, like I said, that makes a DB make a decision. He either has to sit to the inside and play the slant, or he has to jump to the outside and play the fade. And we know pre-snap when he's lined up with inside leverage, shaded to the inside, he doesn't want to give up the slant. So there's a good chance that if I slide and I make it look exactly like that slide release, same tempo, same angle off the ball, that DB could stay patient to the inside. And when he stays patient, I can just accelerate. And all we need, fellas, especially with the quarterback as talented, like, and say what you want about Prescott, but he's in the NFL, guys. Like, he's arguably, definitely top 15 in the NFL. They can put the ball wherever they want. And especially in the red zone, you only need this DB by a single step. So if you got a talented quarterback, guys, and you just need a step, this is a great release to use for that. And obviously, Lamb, ball is thrown, jump ball, finishes on the catch, and then comes down with it. Now, something that could help you guys on a jump ball catch that I want to mention here is you see how he goes up and he makes the play? He doesn't come down facing the DB and give him an opportunity to make a play on the ball on the way down. Because remember, the DB is playing us. So when we go up and we high point that catch, you guys want to rip this thing away from him. You guys want to use your body as a shield. Put your body between the defender and the football, and that allows us to make sure that he cannot make that play on the way down. That's a textbook jump ball fade. That's a textbook slide and go release. So remember, we jab to the inside, you push off the jab step, and it's just a tempo shuffle on that 45-degree angle. Make him make a decision. Is he going to play the slant or is he going to play the fade? Now, one last thing. If he does end up playing the fade, and let's say he makes a play on this ball, what do we know we have the next time we run a slant? We come out with the exact same release. We're patient. He jumps it. Then I can run the slant. Guys, sometimes the DB is going to play this thing perfectly. That's just a part of the position. But that doesn't mean that, oh, that's over, I can't use that release again. That means that I could use that same release and it could set up another route. That's why all great route runners are able to pair their releases together. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Lamb being patient, taking off to the corner, and then winning on that jump ball. So now, this is going to be another example of a goal line fade route. So this is pretty much like just great press principles for a wide receiver. So like if you come up to the line of scrimmage, when it comes down to picking a press release or choosing your press release, there's really two things that you want to look for on a DB. When he's man-to-man press man, you want to look for his leverage, and then you want to look for the distance between you guys, right? So obviously in this case, he's shaded to the inside a little bit, right? So we talked about this in the last example. He wants to take away the inside route. He wants to force everything to the sideline, because the sideline is his help, right? The sideline, if you run out of bounds, you're out of the play. And I mean, yeah, you could reinsert yourself in bounds, but usually like that doesn't happen. That doesn't work that way. Like you get ran out of bounds, like chances are you're out of the play. Quarterback doesn't have all day. So that's where he wants to force us. So when I see that off the line of scrimmage, okay, he's inside shade. That automatically tells me what he's trying to do. Now, can a DB disguise it? Like on the snap, he jumps to the outside shade? Absolutely. Can you try to take an outside release and then he overcommits? You might have to slip back underneath. Absolutely. Playing the receiver position, you need a plan, but you also need to be able to react. Now, again, he's inside shade and he's right up on the line now. So that tells me what release I need to use. So this receiver gives this quick kind of crossover off the line of scrimmage, more of like a lateral move, and he's able to win on this fade. So remember that example from CeeDee Lamb. Let's take a look at the difference in coverage here. You see how he's got maybe a little bit of space, right? But it's pretty much the same idea. And then you look at this example here, pretty much the same idea, not that much space, kind of right up on the line. So when you guys come off the ball and you're facing this type of look, you don't have to close any space. The DB did that for you. If you had to run a goal line fade and this DB was sitting off maybe 2 to 3 yards, you would still attack his leverage to the inside, but you'd have to step on his toes first. Let's close the space first, then let's give him a move to the inside. But if the DB's right up on the ball, I don't need to close any space. I could make him miss laterally. You see how this receiver is operating very much so like left and right rather than stepping forward onto his toes. Now, there are times where you want to step forward, like I said, when the DB's off. But if he's closed that space, we don't need to close any space. Let's just make him miss. Let's make him miss laterally at that line of scrimmage. Let's threaten him to the inside because that's where he doesn't want us to go. If he doesn't want us to go inside, let's make him think we're going inside because that's the best way to get him to move. And when we get him to move, I could get that step on him. Now, on that goal line fade or on any fade route in general, any over-the-shoulder pass in general, this DB usually is not going to be able to get his head around in time and play the football unless he times it perfectly and he reads us perfectly, right? So something you could do as a receiver to make sure that this DB never has the upper hand when you got him beat by a step is by having something called late hands, right? So you see when that ball's coming, this receiver's not raising his hands up. A lot of coaches teach that on over-the-shoulder catches, you want to reach your hands up almost like eye level and go get the ball. Guys, you want to let that thing drop. You don't want to let it drop below your waist, I would say, but we want my hands to be late because when my hands are late, that DB has less time to react and make a play on this thing because he is playing us. He sees your hands start to raise up. He either knows when to get his head around or he knows when to shoot his hands through the middle of your hands, and you're giving him a target to do so. But if you're late with those hands, that DB has zero chance to make a play on that ball. So fellas, off the line, make sure we understand leverage principles, release principles, and when that ball's thrown over the shoulder, let's not give that DB an easy target. Let's make sure we're late with those hands. Okay, so now this example is of a receiver running a slant route versus kind of an inside shade press coverage look. So, again, same idea when you come up to the line of scrimmage, but like, obviously, when it comes down to picking a release, it's about the DB's leverage, it's about his distance from you, but also what it's about, like, is the route that you're running, because sometimes that can change up with the release that you choose. There are a lot of factors that weigh into it. I would say those are the main three: leverage, distance, and then the route that we have. So look at this example here. Like, remember we were talking about distance off the ball. This DB's inside leverage, just like the last two receivers, or just like the last two DBs. And the last two DBs were right up on the line. Now, this one has some space, so this would be a time when if you're going to use a move off the ball and you were running a fade route, maybe you'd have to step more vertically rather than laterally off the ball because there is some distance between you guys, okay? So that's the main thing that I want you to understand first. Now, second, obviously he's running a slant route. So if we had to run, like, let's say it was a post route or let's say it was a dig route and we had inside shade press, we would probably try to attack him. He's not going to give up the inside unless he tries to anticipate the outside release. But let's say we attack him to the inside and he moves to the inside, keeps his leverage, what we think he's going to do. If I had to run a post or a dig, I'd take the outside release, and my goal would be to stack him or have him right on my hip, and I could slip under, and work like a throw-by move. But since it's a slant, you don't really have time to stack over the top of him. So what you would do is you would change up the release. You would attack his outside shoulder, his outside hip, and the goal is to try to get him to think that we're running a fade, think that we're running a goal line fade. So that's what this receiver does. He does a variation of like kind of a diamond release, I guess you could say, or maybe like a crossover step, if you will. But he's attacking the outside shoulder. So that's the main key. When he's inside leverage and you got to run like a slant because he's sitting right where you got to break, we don't want to just attack him then go outside. We have to pick, we got to almost like split him in half. We got to attack his outside shoulder and his outside hip to flip him, right? Now, same idea. If like, let's say for example, this is the receiver down here, and let's say we got to run a post and we got a DB sitting inside shade at about like 8 yards and your post is at 10. You're obviously not going to be able to attack him for 8 and then stack up to 10 to 12. You have to attack his outside shoulder. The goal would be to get that DB to flip his hips and then you slip under on the post. That's the same thing on the slant. So if he's sitting right at that break point, that route can change up a little bit. Now, what this receiver could do better is avoid the choppy steps. I think when he came off the ball, if this DB was a little bit more patient to his leverage, he would have been able to lock this thing up because he didn't really gain much ground. He didn't really threaten with the fade to the outside. I think this DB got just a little bit anxious. Maybe he was a little worried about the receiver's speed, whatever it was. But if you're going to attack that outside shoulder with a diamond release, which is 3 steps to the outside, so you would step with your right foot, left foot, right foot. 3 hard steps. It's got to be full stride. We got to be running hard because that can get that DB to open up. But if you're just kind of choppy with your strides, a more patient DB in this example would be able to sit on that thing and you'd be running right into him. So I'm going to play this again full speed one more time. So just make sure, fellas, we're running in full stride if we're trying to attack that DB's outside shoulder. And our goal is to flip him. So we got to sell it with speed, stride, and good body language. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like an 8-week wide receiver on-field and gym workout schedule to follow, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, you guys. I'll see you next time.